Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to have you all here with us and to be together. This is only the second night that we've just started Satsang again after being out in the Kumbh Mela for the last now 6+ weeks, 45 days. So it was amazing and wonderful, and it's so beautiful to be back. And it's so beautiful to be back on the banks of Ganga here in Rishikesh, and back able to sit in a satsang like this. There was beautiful energy in the Kumbh, but it was so much energy that it actually prevented us from gathering in this type of experience. So it's really beautiful to be able to come back together and drop in. We start satsang usually with a question that comes in from our family that joins us from all over the world through this great gift of technology on social media, websites, different places. And so they send in questions, and we'll start with one of those and then open it up to any questions that anyone here has. Just come up to the microphone. You don't have to raise your hand and wait to be called on or anything like that. Just if you have a question, feel free to come to the microphone here and share your name, share where you're from, and we'll take your question. But first one that has come in advance. Is it proper to find fault in other people's character which hurt us, since of course we aren't perfect ourselves, no matter how much we pray to God? If it is not proper to find fault, then should we just let go and not react? Or what is the solution so that we don't lose our temper? And this is asked by our brother Parag Shah. So here's the dilemma with finding fault with other people. It ends up hurting you more than it hurts them. When you become really negative and you become full of criticism and condemnation, people around you just basically start tuning you out. We all know people like that. We all know people who are just full of nothing but negativity and complaints and criticisms, and very, very quickly, if you want to maintain your own sanity and your own mental health, you just tune them out. Because you know, if I tune in, it's just going to upset me. No need to be full of such negative energy. And so we just tune them out. So it doesn't actually help. Nobody ever says, "Oh, thank you so much for pointing out my faults to me. Wow, I'm so deeply grateful to you. I'm now going to change my ways." Nobody ever says that. The best that you get is somebody who basically says, "Thanks for sharing," and inside them they're thinking something else, but at least they're polite outside. Negativity and criticism just ends up hurting you, because all it does is it pollutes your mind. Your mind that should be full of love, of joy, of truth, of expansion, of sharing, of caring, of celebration, of innovation, of all of that, of compassion. Instead, your mind becomes like a negativity machine. And all you do is manufacture negativity. And long before you take things out on others, they impact you. It's like, if you've got food poisoning, long before you throw up on someone else, you are in serious pain inside. It's only when that illness and pain inside becomes so much do you actually end up finally, vomiting outside. But long before it comes out, it's happening on the inside. And whether it's something physical like food poisoning, or it's just the mental poisoning. Because food poisoning, usually at least, you have a little diarrhea, you have a little vomiting, and in 24 hours, you're okay. Mental poisoning tends to actually get worse and worse and worse. And it becomes a habit. It's like when we talk about sanskaras. The more negative you are, the more likely you are to be negative. This is how the mind works. Negativity breeds negativity. It becomes my habitual way of thinking, of speaking, of acting. So absolutely do not pollute your mind by finding faults with others. If others are hurting you through their faults, then absolutely learn to protect yourself. Avoid them if you can. If you can't avoid them, figure out ways to navigate that particular interaction so that you're not too deeply impacted. Spend as little time with them as you possibly can. Put on what I talk about as your spiritual wetsuit that keeps you protected from that negative energy, from that harmful energy. During the time of COVID, we all really understood quite well how to protect ourselves physically without hurting ourselves mentally or emotionally. Okay, somebody's sick. Maybe somebody you love is sick. Maybe a family member is sick. You maintain your distance. Wear a mask if you have to be in the same place. But you don't start hating them. The mind doesn't start getting all negative about them just because they've contracted COVID. You understand at the moment they're not well. I need to protect myself. But it doesn't change the internal workings of your mind or your heart or your thoughts or your emotions. That's how it should be. If someone is sick in the mind, which everyone who is spreading harm is, that is one irrefutable fact. If someone is spreading harm, it's because that's what they are manufacturing inside, which means that they are living in a state of dis-ease. It may not be a diagnosable disease, but it is definitely a state of dis-ease, lack of ease. They are suffering on the inside, ill on the inside. So you need to protect yourself. Wear your metaphoric mask when you're going to be around them. It's zip up that spiritual wetsuit. Maintain your social distancing. You may need more than 6 feet. 6 feet is enough for a cough or sneeze. It may not necessarily be enough for some people's personalities. Maybe 60 feet. Maybe 6 miles. Whatever it is. But maintain whatever you need to maintain to protect yourself. And lastly, like we did in COVID, we knew no matter how much I do, I still might be exposed to it. So we worked a lot on increasing and improving our physical immunity. We took vitamin C, we took ashwagandha, we did yoga, we did pranayama, we did all kinds of things. We got good sleep to build up our immunity. Same way on a spiritual and emotional level. If you know you're going to be exposed to someone whose personality problems, whose ego, whose anger, whose illusion, whose greed, whatever it may be, if that's going to harm you, and you know that you're going to likely be exposed to it, in addition to trying to maintain that distance, and in addition to your spiritual wetsuit, build up your spiritual immunity The spiritual immunity is, it's not vitamin C. Vitamin C is great for the body. The spiritual immunity is your meditation, your prayers, your yoga, your japa, your seva, your gyan yoga, your introspection that makes you realize this that I'm feeling is coming from this person's anger, confusion, ego, fear, illusion, jealousy, greed, lust, whatever it may be. It is coming from that. It's not me. Don't accept other people's projections. Don't internalize them. Don't catch their illness. Protect yourself. And that spiritual immunity is so important. Because otherwise you end up in a situation where you have to avoid so much of the world because you can't be near it. Then you end up in that situation of, don't come near me because I'm in peace and I don't want you to disturb my peace. And then our lives become very constricted, very narrow. Can't go here, can't be with this one, can't talk to this one, can't go to this family dinner, can't go here. And ultimately, the spiritual goal of life is expansion, not contraction. So try to build up your spiritual immunity so much that you can go anywhere, be with anyone, regardless of how diseased their mind might be or their heart might be. And you don't catch it and it doesn't impact you. But by no means waste your precious mind and thought focused on their faults, because then you are just catching their illness right away. And you want to stay healthy, spiritually healthy, emotionally, psychologically healthy. So keep yourself positive. Keep yourself clear and pure. And protect it from that energy rather than start thinking about it and judging it and blaming it and criticizing it. Great question. Yeah, other questions? Any question that anyone... Yes, please, come.
Namaste, Sadhviji. Thank you for this opportunity to let us discuss our thoughts and questions.
Can you speak a little louder?
Sure, yeah. Is this better?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So my question is around the cycle of birth and rebirth. While in the current dimension of science doesn't speak anything of the birth or the rebirth, how did this cycle of birth and rebirth get into the spiritual dimension, and what could be its spiritual significance and its relevance in today's world?
Great. So first of all, it's really important to know that just because science has not yet, quote unquote, discovered something, doesn't mean it's not true. The tools of science are limited. It's limited to that which can be measured or weighed, seen with a microscope, seen with a telescope, things that have volume and area and dimension and sizes. Things that can measure whether it's energy waves. But something that can be measured in some way is what science requires. And there's a lot in the world that cannot be measured by science. Not only birth and rebirth, not only God, but love. I mean, imagine that someone says to you, prove that you love your mother, father, child, husband, wife. Prove it. Think about it for a minute. Do you actually have any way that you could empirically prove that? We could demonstrate, oh, well, I make them breakfast every day. People who work in restaurants make breakfast every day. Doesn't mean they love their customers. Could say I live with them. Well, there's a lot of reasons you might live with someone other than loving them. There's not actually an empirical way to prove love. And yet, everyone who's ever experienced love, we know it exists. We don't care that you can't prove it empirically. You don't love your loved ones any less just because you can't put your love in a beaker and weigh it. We understand, all right. Science doesn't know what to do with love, fine. But it also doesn't know what to do with God. It also doesn't know what to do with this idea of birth and rebirth. I mean, we could come up with lots of things that science has not yet discovered, but that we know to be true. And so you should not doubt something just because science hasn't discovered it. 200 years ago, if on your 8th grade science exam, you had written that the earth was flat and everything revolved around it, you would have gotten an A+. That was the truth in those days. The lowercase t truth, of course. The earth hasn't changed. The solar system hasn't changed. All that has changed is our tools have gotten better. And now we know, oh, the earth isn't flat, it's round. Oh, the solar system doesn't revolve around it. It, along with the other planets, is revolving around the sun. Who knows whether 200 years from now, people are going to look back and go, ha, 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 isn't that so funny? They thought the earth was round. Ha, isn't that so funny? They thought it revolved around the sun. I mean, who knows what our tools are going to show us 50 years, 100 years, 200 years down the line. I'm convinced, I know at some point, we will have a tool that shows us that there is soul. As we can see the body, I am sure that just around the corner will be an ability to say, yes, we now have empirical evidence, whether it's visual, whether it's energetic, whatever it may be, that, yeah, you're not just a body, but here's the soul. But with regard specifically to reincarnation and birth and rebirth, although what you could consider hard science has not proven it, there is absolutely lots of evidence. Now, it's what in science we call anecdotal evidence, rather than irrefutable empirical evidence. It's anecdotal. A story here, a story there, a story here, a story there. But you gather enough of these anecdotes together, and it's true. I mean, there's so many stories, typically of children who absolutely remember their past births, and they go back and they find it. The parents or other people in the village, and they go back and they're like, yeah, this happened. This person died in this way. And the kid's like, my teddy bear is still in the cupboard. And they open the cupboard and the teddy bear is still there. I mean, all sorts of things like this. Lots and lots and lots of evidence, lots of books. So we know that it exists. In terms of its purpose or relevance, on a spiritual level, we have this cycle in order to work through our karmic packages, in order to clear our karmic debts, so that we may ultimately be free, and so that we may ultimately attain that state of moksha, liberation, divine oneness. It's really a state of waking up, and it's a state of surrender. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Krishna makes it very, very clear. He teaches Arjuna the only way to escape this cycle of birth and death is surrender to me. Whatever you do, just surrender it to me. Just surrender. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjahoshi dadasayat yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurushwa madarpanam. Just surrender. Everything you do, even the good stuff. Usually it's easy to surrender the bad stuff, like, hey God, okay, you take that. You know, I cheated on my taxes, I'll hand you that. I lied to my parents, I'll hand you that. But the mantra tells us even the good stuff. The tapas you've done, the sadhana you've done, the yagna you've done, the seva you've done, everything you've done. Just surrender it. On an energetic level, with our Jiva Atma, our soul, our individual soul that is taking birth after birth, is what we call the Sukshma Sharir, the subtle body. It is that which reincarnates with the soul in physical body after physical body. And the subtle body is made up of what we call man, buddhi, ahankar. The mind, the intellect, the ego. And this is where our patterns, our practices, our sanskaras, our neural networks are, however you think about it. It's why it's so important. Because the nature of your mind, the nature of your intellect, the purity of it, or the cloudiness of it, actually stays with you. The ego stays with you. That ignorance stays with you. So this is why we do our sadhana, to purify the mind, to purify the intellect, to purify the ego. And okay, if you don't get enlightened this life, no problem. At least all of that which you've done stays with you for next life, and you build off of where you were now. So that's the point of the life after life, is that we get to keep going closer and closer to that truth, and having opportunities to work through whatever karmic debts or karmic bank accounts we may have accrued in this lifetime. So in terms of its relevance in your life, don't worry too much about it. Focus much more on this life. A lot of times we get really stuck in past lives. And I always say, look, once you've got this life figured out, completely figured out, like you're absolutely set, absolutely free from illusion and ignorance and fear and anger and rag and dvesh and all of that. If you want to start investigating past lives, by all means. But as long as you've still got work to do in this life, do this life, because here we are. How exactly we got here is of much less relevance than what we're going to do with where we are. So focus on, where are you? Clearly something in your past has created this destiny so that you are here. But focus now on where you are. How do I find freedom? How do I find joy? How do I find peace? That's what it's about. Yeah, great. Other questions? Yes, please.
Hi, my name's Dana. I'm from the United States. And I have a question, but first I want to thank you. I first heard of you on the Buddha at the Gas Pump podcast with Rick Archer, and immediately bought your book, your memoir, and opened it, and the first page, the first quote by Pujya Swamiji, I burst into tears, and then read the book. Just couldn't put it down. It was so inspiring, and it's why I'm here now. And Rick is a big fan of my own work. I'm a writer as well. And I reached out to you through him, and you were so kind to give me a testimonial for it. So thank you for all of that. Yeah. My question is, when you are on, hit kind of a plateau on the spiritual path, and I've come to a place where I'm in a very, I feel very stabilized level of realization, and very grateful for that, because I came out of a lot of trauma, and now I teach others, and I am a counselor as well. And I've kind of hit a plateau, which is a big reason that I came to Rishikesh, is to deepen into another level of my path. And I just wanted to see what you have to say about that possibility and what you would suggest.
Beautiful. So I think most of us on the spiritual path who have been walking it and working it for a long time, we notice that it absolutely has moments of great change and expansion and ecstasy and movement and realizations and deepening. And then we have these moments of what seem to be these plateaus, as you say. First piece is, don't worry about it. It's the nature of nature. If you look at the seasons, there's rainy seasons, there's dry seasons. There's nothing in nature I know of that bears fruit 365 days a year. And with farming, what we know is that if you really want your field and your farm to be the most plentiful harvest, to really be the most abundant, the best way to do it is to let it lie absolutely fallow every once in a while. And so when we have moments in our life, seasons in our life in which it seems like we are fallow, dry, fruitless, it's so easy to criticize ourselves and to feel like something is wrong. But instead, if you could just think about it as sort of a season of life. I have had seasons of being quite productive, very flowering and fruiting and, giving in the harvesting. Not the others harvest, but you give that which gets harvested. And now this is a time of lying fallow. It's critical in nature. It's why trees shed their leaves and then get new ones. So don't hate the plateaus. Don't think that there's a problem with them. Recognize them as a season of your life, of the tree of you. And interestingly, when there are those plateau moments, at least in nature, and for me, I get so much of my inspiration from nature. When there's that which looks like it is barren on the outside, those are the times very frequently where there's a lot of change happening on the inside, but you just can't see it. It's like the caterpillar in the cocoon. Looks like nothing's happening. Just a cocoon hanging on a branch, nothing's happening. But we cannot see the absolutely amazing metamorphosis that is taking place inside the cocoon. So when there are plateaus, be aware that there may be a transformation, a metamorphosis taking place inside. And it just seems barren and stable or stagnant even on the outside. So that's part one. Part two is, if truly this is a moment where you really are kind of getting stagnant, that it's not just a temporary season, but it's a time of stagnation, of lack of growth. One of the most powerful ways that I have found to re-stimulate it is the rituals that we have here, particularly the yajna ceremony. Each morning at 8:30 we gather right here for the sacred yajna, And it's an incredible ceremony of offering. And just say to yourself, ask yourself, what is the ignorance, illusion, story, narrative I am telling myself? Anything. Anything that comes into the fill in the blank after I am. If you say to yourself, I am, whatever comes in that blank afterwards, other than soul, divinity, consciousness, anything other than that, offer it to the fire. Offer it to the fire. Offer it to the fire. Offer the story of the fact that you're on a plateau to the fire. Offer the story of the fact that you were productive prior to this plateau to the fire. That's just a story. It's just part of the scripted drama that this particular incarnation of you in this particular scene of the cosmic drama is going through. It's not actually who you are. It's just part of your drama. Offer that to the fire. Offer every thought you have about a plateau to the fire. And just keep offering. So that would be one thing I would do. Another thing that's really powerful, obviously, is a bath in Ganga, but a bath with the intention to be liberated of whatever it is in your mind that is keeping you plateaued. There is something going on. If it isn't just a beautiful natural season, it means there is something going on that is holding me and keeping me stuck. Something I don't want to let go of, something I don't want to step up into, something I don't want to embrace, something I don't want to acknowledge. What is it? And just ask Ganga to free you of that as you bathe. And what I have seen is if you ask, be careful what you ask for, because if you ask, it gets given. And that catalyst for new growth, new deepening, it'll absolutely come. But in the meantime, really remember that the plateau period is not bad. It is just a season. Love it, honor it, notice it. Acknowledge it. Yeah, we're lying fallow. We're just gonna sit here for a little while. There's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to achieve. Right here in this moment is exactly perfect, however it is. Give to the fire any idea that this moment is not perfect, that there's anything that should be better, deeper, more. Where did you acquire the idea that there is anything other than perfection in this moment? Offer it. And just keep giving and keep praying and keep opening. And it'll absolutely happen. Beautiful. Have a beautiful rest of your evenings. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world online. And I look so forward to seeing you tomorrow. We will have another 2 days of satsang before Yoga Festival. So tomorrow and the day after will be again our last days of satsang for a while. So looking so forward to being together with you all again tomorrow.